Hello everyone, welcome back. In the third stage of determining supply and demand, what I'm actually doing is slowly I've actually moved from a bird's eye view and I've zeroed in further, and all I do is I keep zooming in to further details of any suburb until I've actually got what I really want. So in the third stage I go through various different websites and I try and find out more details, more specific details of what's happening in the suburb. So let's start. This is a website called propertyreporter.com.au. If you know it, great, but I use it a lot. And the reason I use it is, first off, it actually gives me a really good idea. So, say for example, we're looking at Barrick at this stage. It gives me a really good idea of what's selling, what did it sell for, and some of the properties, their prices weren't disclosed, some of them were. So it gives me a really good idea of 5th of May, what was sold, 2nd of April, 22nd April, and gives me a good idea of what's happening. And also it actually puts places data on the map so you can have a look at it. But what I really like about this site is actually, if I'm thinking of investing in this suburb, all I have to do is jump straight into invest. And if you look at it, talks about median price, median rent, weekly rental yield, transfer of property. If I transfer a property which has a median value of 480, it's going to cost me 23 grand just in stamp duty. If I take out a loan, it'll be another 30,000 depending upon the criteria that they've put in here. Miscellaneous expenses, annual expenses, and it tells me about cash flow. That's the part that I really like. It's not accurate, but it gives me a really good idea that if I was to buy a property in this area, 2-bedroom, it'll be probably 20 grand cash flow negative. Then again, if I buy a 3-bedroom, 33,000, 4-bedroom, 45,000, 5-bedroom, 41,000. So it gives me a very good idea depending upon their median value. I mean, it's not specific to a particular property that you are going to pick up in that area, but it actually gives me a fantastic idea of whether or not it's going to be cash flow positive. Actually, none of these, as per these criteria, are actually going to be positive or neutral. They will be negative. So unless you are actually developing it yourself, so that means you manufactured equity in it, which means that you are not borrowing as much as as much as they've actually allowed for. So this loan, this cash flow could end up neutral or positive in some scenarios. So that's the reason I actually really like this website, and that's what I look at. But you can check out rent, which maps out on the map what's happening, different properties, why are they. So if you wanted to ever map this data on Google Maps, and I'll show you later on how to do that, you can have a look at all these data on the property, about the suburb, and get a better idea. I'll give you an example. For example, this is Frankston. So in Frankston, if it's a 1-bedroom or a 2-bedroom apartment, a 2-bedroom apartment is a better investment when you actually look at in terms of the cash flow of that 2-bedroom apartment as compared to a 1-bedroom apartment. So 1-bedroom apartment would probably be about 28,000 negative, and this would be 20, so you'll save 8,000 per year here. So houses, again, it gives you an idea that which one is a better option. So if you look at even if you want to develop in that area, you would want to find out which is the sweet spot here in terms of, if you want to develop in whole, in terms of long-term investment. So it gives you an idea of what to actually develop in that area. Another thing that this site actually does is, for example, I went to realestate.com.au, searched for some properties that were for sale in Berwick. I came up with this property, 1 Nathan Court. So all I do is I paste it here, and it tells me it went on the market on 1st of February 2012. They tried to sell it for 785, then they couldn't, so in March they reduced it to 750, and on 13th of May they've actually put it back on the market for for 730,000. So look at the drop that has happened. What this allows you to do is that if you were ever interested in that property, it gives you leverage, but because you know this data and you can use it to negotiate better terms or better rate or whatever you want to negotiate with the vendor. A very good website is SQM Research, and they are an authority in that area. Now they sell all sorts of reports that you can buy, including distressed property report that you can buy from them. But I mainly look at this site for weekly vendor sentiment, because it gives me an idea what's happening with the people who are actually trying to sell their property in that area. So this is for Berwick 3806, that's the postcode there. So I can look at, okay, for all houses, change on per previous week, it was basically 0.2. But if I look at the 12-month change, and this is for 3-bedroom houses, the vendor sentiment's actually gone down. This gives me a good idea of what's happening. And similar for 2-bedroom units, I can look at. But for 2-bedroom units, look at this, the vendor sentiment's actually gone up. So it tells me 2-bedroom units maybe is better, or they are selling more quicker because vendor sentiment is up for that portion. But if you look at 3-bedroom also, there's 12-month change, it has gone up to 6.2. Sorry, 3-bedroom are 6.2, and all houses overall is about negative 3.2. Sorry, I mixed it up. Let's look at weekly asking rents, which is good again for Berwick. You can see for all bedroom, it's actually up 6.6%, for 3-bedroom up 4.4%. That tells me that people are renting in that area. Remember when we looked at this earlier, the properties available for rent was about 20% or something, that so which tells me that there is demand for properties to rent in that area. So that's what I can draw from this. If I compare it to the proportion of renters in Berwick, so this confirms that stat that we were looking at earlier. Second is weekly vendor sentiment. Then you've got 12-month percentage change. Again, this is for 319, and this is for Frankston. So you can look at, again, this has gone up for 3-bedroom, which basically tells me that Frankston market people are confident. That means the vendors are not actually panicking at this stage. This is Suburb Price, is one of my favorite websites. I like it because it gives me a lot of data. It gives me puts me in a very good position to negotiate with vendors and with estate agents. So you can look at this site and it'll tell you what's happening overall all over Australia. And you can look at some heat maps. So you can see median asking price 800k plus. I don't know how they've calculated that, because the median asking price for 800k should be somewhere here. But stock on sale, I don't look at these heat maps a lot. What I really like this site about is here. If I'm in Berwick, and all I've done is show me the price reductions that have happened for different various websites in Berwick that were up for sale. So look at this. 29 Valley View Crescent, it's 5% vendor discounting. Look at this, 12% vendor discounting 52 days ago. Reduction rate was 52 on the market 66 days ago. So you know exactly when it went on the market and why is it down. And you got to find out before you actually say, yeah, I'm getting a bargain, let's jump in. You've got to find out what's the reason that property is not selling. So before you actually jump in, make sure you dig deeper. Yes, but it's a good starting point to start looking at, okay, that's property is 4% less, and why are so many of these properties, so many of these vendors offering discount. in Barrick at this stage. So that's what you got to find out. It also gives you listing history. So if you click on that, it'll tell you when was this property listed and the price that it was, and it'll tell you the size of the bedroom, the number of bedrooms, bathroom, garage, all these details. That's why I just love this site. But if you look at this, there are some properties that have actually gone up from their listing price, and you got to see why and why these ones have gone down. So you got to analyze the whole. This is all of Barrick at this stage. If you wanted to find out, say for example, this property I found on realestate.com.au in Frankston. This is 124 Heather Hill Road in Frankston. All I did was I come here and I actually put it in to find out the history of this property, and what I found was that it was last price was 8th of May for 250, and it has been on the market for 666 days. What's wrong with it? So that's what you've got to find out. You've got to find it could be maybe it has a tree on it, maybe it has something, it falls under a particular zoning that doesn't allow people to develop, but there's something wrong with this property, and that's what you got to find out. And why has it been on the market for over 2 years, almost 2 years, and hasn't sold. So but if you find everything is good and you want to negotiate a better price for this, you are in a good position because you can negotiate. Another website that I started looking deeper into, this is house.ksou.cn. It's a Chinese website, but believe me, this is all Australian data here. It's got all details of all the suburb. This is basically your free source, the number one free source for all prices. Lot of prices in if you're in Queensland, there's no problem accessing what a property sold for. But in Victoria, people don't get, or like I don't get access to the sold data unless it's actually listed. But this website here lists everything. If it is reported somewhere, this website has access to this data, so you can look at it. You can check out the rent price in that area. You can check out the suburb profile in that area. So it gives you a really good idea of what the rent is, what those properties are. You can click on them and see what they are, and find out what are they renting for in that area. So this is a fantastic website. I use it all the time. Again, if you had a specific address, for example 12 Gamble Avenue, I just found it on real estate randomly. I just put it in to find out what it did sell for. It was listed over 570, but it was sold for 560. We know that it's in Barrick, and we found out that a lot of properties were selling less than, a lot of properties were actually on discount in Barrick. And you can find that, okay, it was listed over 570, but it sold for 560, so it sold for 10 grand less. It's a 900 square meter block, and it's got all these details, so you can go through this website, which is really good. Sorry, I've got a bad throat. Oldlistings.com.au, excellent site. Helps me find out what's happening, what happened in a particular street. If I wanted to, I could put in the address here, I could put in the suburb here. So say for example, what I did was I found a property called Hayland Court that I was looking at in Berwick. It's got plans and permit for 7 townhouses, and all I did was I put in that address, and I wanted to find out what's happening. I put a street name filter and I selected Hayland Court in Berwick, and it gave me the sale price of all the properties in Hayland Court. And I found that I've got 9 Hayland Court Berwick, which is, this is the one that this is the property that's actually on sale, and they're trying to sell it off the plan because it hasn't been built. And what I can find out here is that in October 2010, it probably was last advertised between 455 to 485, and since then the vendor's actually gone and got permit for 7 townhouses on that block of land. and these are actually those townhouses that they are trying to sell um, in that area. Because you can see sees it March 2014 last advertised price. Now this is being sold off the plan. This is a 3-bedroom 2-bathroom townhouse, and they're trying to sell it for 490. I don't think the market sits there at the moment, and yeah, that's what it does. But it gives you an idea of what other properties next close by have sold for as well. What intrigues me is this, that without plans and permit, 2 years ago, almost 4 years ago, this was between 485. The asking price today is, I think, 650,000 plus. So it gives me a very good idea to do my research and find more details. The other thing I do is, it's all this is free so far. So what I do is I jump on the house, and I put in the address, and I find out what the valuation of that property would be. Now this isn't very accurate. This is the site that I was talking about, which has plans for 7 townhouses, and it's 3,737 square meter, and they have a guesstimate of 564 to 636, and it's a moderate guess. I don't always go for what they're asking, because sometimes this site is way off, but it's actually on the market for 650 plus. So if I just wanted to copy that, I'll show you the listing on this side. Well, it doesn't come up. Maybe if it is sold or not, I have no idea. But this is only last week that I was looking at this deal. So yeah, the last site that I look at gives me further idea about what has sold in a suburb, and you can have a look at it. It's called ozhomevalue.com.au. You can actually put in a postcode here, 3806. This is Barrack again, and it gives me a good idea of what's happening in Barrack again. And you can look at, they've got their, again, suburb profile. Almost everyone's got access to suburb profile. They can look at it, and that's the end of this lesson.